Meeting of the Land Conservation Advisory Board. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we have to approve the agenda from last month. First of all, are there any comments or changes or corrections?
Nancy?
Yes,
Uh,
Stag.
Yeah, this may be under new business, but I'd like to at the end discuss having sessions in the different parts of the county to brief the open sessions for the public, like I think has been done in the past, but particularly out in our area where there's not a lot of knowledge of the conservation plans.
Okay, let's wait until we get in
Yeah.
today's agenda. This is looking at last month. This is the
Oh,
meeting on June 26th. Does anyone have any comments?
oh, okay. I misunderstood where we were.
Okay,
I moved to approve the minutes from June
okay.
26th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Who is that?
That was Matt, sorry.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because we have new members today, let's try to always precede our comments with our names so people get used to your voice. I mean, I could close my eyes and I know it's Matt, but okay. If there's a second, okay, all in favor, all in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any negative? Okay, then let's go ahead and approve the agenda, approve the minutes for last month. Now we have to look at today's agenda. And is there a motion to accept today's agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept today's agenda. This is Matt Fusco.
Okay.
Bob Gale, I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, and I will underneath number 6, where it says announcement or discussions, Stag, I'll add your subject and we can talk about it then, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody not approve today's agenda? Okay, then let's vote. It's approved. Okay. Any public comment? Do we have any members of the public online with us?
It looks like we might have someone, but I don't know if there is any comment. Yeah, I think no comment, but
No comment? Okay. Angelica, do you know?
Angelica?
I've allowed Stu Rohrbaugh to unmute. Stu, if you're here for public comment, this is your time to shine.
Okay, Stu, any comments? Okay, I guess not. Okay. So we do have a member of the public online with us, but there is no public comment today. All right, so let's keep going. Our updates from our agencies and land resources. So let's see, I heard Jess, why don't you go ahead?
Good morning. For anybody new, I'm Jess Lagis. I'm the Farmland Protection Director at Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy. And we are busy as ever. I just chatted with Michelle this morning and she said some of the projects that this board has approved or recommended for commissioner approval are under due diligence, like Eden's proceeding apace. Deed review is a bear, but moving along. And she did mention there is about an $8,000 shortfall in the due diligence budget for deed review. So it's possible she would be coming to this LCAB board looking for a small amount to cover that gap in the future. We don't have any new Buncombe County closings since our last meeting. I can let you know, though, that we've completed our private fundraising for the Warren Wilson conservation easements. and we've already started preparing our agency applications. So that one is also moving right along, and we're also exploring with them ways that we can engage the student body in the actual the action steps to get to closing an easement. So that's kind of an exciting process to discuss with them.
That
I
is,
think
and that's excellent.
Thanks, Nancy. I think that's it for us, though.
Okay, any questions for Jess? Okay. Tom, I see you're on for Conserve Carolina. Can you give us your update?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, for the new folks, I'm Tom Fonso, Land Protection Director at Conserving Carolina. We're based in Hendersonville. I just submitted our list of upcoming asks to Ariel and Avni, and look forward to discussing with them a timetable for presenting those to you. Our Conserving Carolina, we work almost exclusively in the what some people call the Upper Broad River watershed, the Rocky Broad River watershed there in the eastern part of Buncombe County, in the Broad River, obviously the Broad River drainage, so not the French Broad River watershed. So that's a kind of a north-south running corridor from just south of Black Mountain, once you get over the Continental Divide, heading down into Bat Cave in Henderson County. So continuing to develop some projects in that area, and looking, October is going to be a big month for us, I think, in finding out what happens for the applications we have pending at the Light Center there on Highway 9.
Yep.
So that's my update.
Okay, good. Any questions for Tom? Okay, so nothing to present for today, but there's stuff coming in the future. Good, okay. And who else do we, oh, well, Ariel, I guess you're it. And Navni.
All right. Well, welcome to the new board members. We're super excited to have you. We did spend some time recently creating a LCAB member handbook that we will we've shared with the new board members, and we will share with you with the rest of the board. And now that we've done some tweaking, we did also spend some time doing an LCAB new board member onboarding with our four new board members. Yeah. And so that's very exciting. We've never done this before, and so I think it's a great way to get the new board members up to speed rather quickly, so that you can, especially as we have this larger turnover in the next couple of years. So we're excited about that. We've also kind of toyed around with the idea of doing an abbreviated version of the onboarding with the entire board as just a refresher. It's been a while since we've talked about, some of the basic rules and some of our guiding principles, and so we wanted to kind of float that by the rest of the board to see if you were interested in that. So we could do that at a scheduled board meeting, or if you didn't want to do it then, we could do it at the time. So that's kind of some general board meeting, like maintenance. I shared yesterday or the day before, maybe it was up me, the estimates for funding for this fiscal year, including the upcoming bond fund requests. I know Tom just mentioned that. So this is, there's some projects that are in the works. There's some projects that I'm not exactly sure when that request is going to come. We'll plan that out with our land trust representatives. But I wanted to give you an idea of the amounts that are in the pipeline. So we didn't share exact project names at this stage, just because things are still being fleshed out. In terms of Ag and Land Resources, Ag Advisory Board projects, we submitted 3 new projects to the commissioners back in July for transaction costs, and those were all approved. And we anticipate to come back over the next month or two and request bond funds for those 3 projects. Those projects.
Ariel, excuse me, what were those 3 projects, just for our new members?
Yeah. So we have Sandy Holler Farm out in Sandy Mush. That's a phase 2. They did the first phase of that easement with Southern App. And then this phase 2, they're going to do with soil and water. So that's about 150 acres out in Sandy Mush. And then about 70 acres of Kestrel Herb Farm out in Sandy Mush as well. So another property, or another protected property out in Sandy Mush in the priority region. And then what was the third one of me? I'm totally blanking. Oh, the Battle Forest, which is in Candler. It is kind of on the Buncombe Haywood line, so that it has a protected ridge included in this, and this is about 167 acres of a working forest out that way. So a lot of nutrient protection, and a lot of water resources there too. So those are the 3 that were approved for transaction costs and plan to come for easement purchase from the bond in the next couple.
Ariel, could you say again where the one is in Candler? You broke up when you were.
Okay. Yeah. So it's off of George's Branch Road. It's. I mean, I can share with you like specific location, but it has a protected ridge line from the Buncombe Haywood on the Buncombe Haywood ridge line, and that's kind of the general location. But I can share more specifics with you.
Yeah, Ariel, it's tough to hear you. You go in and out, and it's you do break up a little bit, but it's more like an echo. So
I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ariel, if you could just type the address in the chat, and then I could look it up on a map after the meeting. That'd be super.
I will follow up with you on that.
Okay, good. Any questions for Ariel? Okay.
I have one more thing. Can you hear me any better? Is it worse?
No.
All right. Can you give an update on the strategic plan and where we're at?
Yes. So we've been working with other departments in the county on our strategic plan for 2030. And the last strategic plan, they had a lot of our funding was tied to the strategic plan, which allowed us to do a lot more work, which is great. And so we've been working to try and get something in the strategic plan to help continue our work. But in addition to just, we want to continue doing conservation easements, but we've also been thinking a little bit more broadly about agriculture and the economic viability of it. And so through those workshops at the county, our strategy and innovations department has been taking what staff comes up during those work groups and taking it to the commissioners. And so I think, Ariel, is it last week Tuesday? I think it was last week Tuesday or 2 weeks before that, strategy and innovation took those to the commissioners, and they had some edits, they went over it, and then they brought it back to us. And I think this is hopefully going to be the final part of getting those like goals approved. Yeah, is that right, Ariel? It'll be this week?
My understanding is the commissioners saw the proposal and they had no comments on what we proposed. They were very supportive about keeping the goal the same.
Didn't hear you, Ariel.
They had no comment. Yeah, it
Okay.
sounds like they had no comment on this last round. So I think it's
Okay.
something we might be moving forward.
Excellent. Okay. I know that Jill is gone from the passive land use, the bond people. Bob Gale and Matt Fusco, you're still our and Bob Turner, who's not here today, are still our representatives on what's left of that committee, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I'll-
and where
I'll
is
be
that?
happy. I'll be happy to give. Sorry. I'll be happy to give a short report. Matt can join in. He's always got extra stuff.
Thank
too.
you. Yeah.
Sorry. What we did yesterday basically was we had, over the last week, we had submitted a survey that was sent to us by the staff to vote on, it was a poll to vote on which projects we want to move forward. And the questions were fully funded, partial funded, or no action at this time. So yesterday we met and reviewed those and did some discussion. And we still have some questions on a lot of things, and we're waiting for some answers from either the owners or submitters and from the staff on, a couple legal things. But ultimately, we did vote to approve 7 of the 11 projects fully funded, and we voted for all of them to move forward, whether partial funding or not. And we will get more answers on some of the questions we had on the partial funding ones. They were tended to be big asks. And that's just, in a nutshell, that's what we did. And we will be, on our next meeting, we'll actually be voting. I think that's our next meeting. We'll be voting for our final kind of votes for everything once we have a little more information. Matt, you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it, Bob. The only thing I would add is that I think that meeting is on the 20th of September, and the expectation I think we left with yesterday was that we would be able to push our recommendations to the commissioners after that meeting. The loose ends that we had some questions about, we think should be able to be answered before our next meeting.
That's right.
Yep.
If I recall, there was one project out in the Candler area that the funding was split. Like a phase 1 funding was for infrastructure and purchase and things like that. And the second part, phase 2, was what's going to happen after the land is actually, up and running. And I think that what I remember is that second phase did not really have any concrete plans in place, and there was no way to track or audit the money that was going to that second phase. Did anything come up about that?
I don't recall one of those projects having a phase 2, or at least not what we looked at yesterday. There is one project that is near the rec sports complex off of Sand Hill Road, and they've got a request for the county to purchase the land, but it doesn't include any future monies. That's one of the ones that we had questions about, and it comes down to how do we understand value, knowing that we're not qualified appraisers or qualified to make a call on that number, and how do we award? Is it possible to just say based on appraisal from the county, which would have to happen anyway at some point, but trying to get some more information on that one. But I apologize, I don't remember one that had a phase 2 that didn't have anything, at least at this round of review.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't either. I think maybe, Nancy, that the one he's referring to, Sand Hill, might be the one you're thinking of. And also, by the way, it's an acquisition, but it also is like I think it's 95% in the flood zone. Nothing can be built there anyway, but
Okay.
It's kind of farmed right now, I think.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Bob or Matt?
Okay, we're supposed to be out of town. Okay, call me back, see when she's available.
Wait, yeah. Stag, did you have a comment? You're muted.
He muted. I think he was talking to somebody else, so he muted.
I had a call come in. I'm sorry. My question was how much money is left in the bond thing, given what you've already approved or is in the queue?
Well, we haven't formally approved everything to go to the commissioners yet. We do feel like The 7 that we discussed yesterday do not have additional questions. So we will know that at the September meeting, but it does look promising with some of these questions answered that we could potentially fund all the projects that have made it this far.
I guess my
Okay.
question was, what would be left once you know, if everything you think is going to get funding is funded, what is left of the 30 million?
But it'll be very little, but we don't know that exact number yet.
And
Yeah,
and
I think we have something like 10,400,000.
Yeah. 10.4 million is
1,000.
available to us to recommend, and depending on how you parse it out, and what some of these questions that were raised yesterday would impact what that number is that may or may not be left over.
Okay, thank you.
And we actually, after we adjusted some numbers, and they're still in flux, but after we adjusted them, we went from having a deficit that we'd seen over the last few months of what was available. In other words, we never thought we had quite enough to fund all the projects fully, to actually a very slight few $1,000s positive balance at the end. So it's conceivable that everything could be funded fully if we chose to fund them all fully. But that's still a question.
okay.
And the other, can everyone hear me
Yes.
now? Okay,
Yes.
great. I'm on my cell phone and the computer and I'm trying to figure it out. But the other thing to remember is that the information that I shared in the spreadsheet, that is like the funding that they're mentioning with passive rec is not competing with the funding that we have kind of earmarked for easements. So just like wanting to squelch concerns of that, if that is a concern, because that's already been kind of earmarked at the county level.
Okay. All right.
Good point. Thanks,
Thank you.
Harry.
Thank you.
I had a question for maybe Bob or Matt. You guys, sounds like you're meeting on September 20th to make your recommendations. You'll send that in. Does anyone know when the final decisions could be made on what gets funded?
We'll make our recommendations to the commissioner if everything goes smoothly after this next meeting. And then do you know what the next date of the commissioners meeting is, Bob? I could look it up.
No, I don't actually. Nancy might know.
I just know
Usually it takes a few weeks to get on the agenda.
yeah.
So depending on when's your next meeting?
September 20th.
Okay, September 20th, you wouldn't be able to get on the agenda till the 1st of October, probably at the earliest.
Right.
And so that would be when they could allocate those funds to the specific projects.
Okay. David, anything else?
No, I appreciate the answer.
Okay. Is that an open meeting? I assume it is.
Yes, and there's video available if you would, Ariel or Avni, you'd have to maybe point her in the right direction. I'm not sure where to find it, but it is, public information.
Okay. All right.
And Nancy, we do have, on one project, we have a whole lot of commenters, mainly having to do with a dangerous parking proposal, but that's all to be, it's still in design and all that. And really, we won't get beyond, it's not up to us to decide that, but it will, the way both Matt and I see it, and everybody, is that any issues would be worked out. The thing would get funded or not, but any issues would be worked out later as part of the process, and meeting with NCDOT and all that kind of stuff. So that would be beyond us. But anyway, there have been people very interested, and we've made sure that we've acknowledged them, listened to them, and they know they're being heard. And they got to comment yesterday verbally in our meeting.
Okay. Okay.
And one quick point of clarification, I think I just said October 1st, but because of the timeline of when your board meeting is, it probably wouldn't be till October 15th meeting. So
That's the date I recall is the 15th.
Yeah.
I didn't want to commit, and I was trying to find that, but I think that's right, the 15th.
that is correct.
Okay. Where did your committee end up after Jill left? Who's running the ship right now?
Rachel Sawyer with the county is leading the meetings, and then there's obviously staff members from the county on that, but she's the our point person currently.
Okay.
And she has been meeting with us for the last several months. So the transition was pretty seamless.
Excellent. That's really good to know. One question I have is the money that was made available for this project. And it sounds like we've spent most of it, if not all of it. Was that in the plan? Was that the original plan to one big swoop in and do this? Or was it supposed to be spread out over a couple of years?
There was never a commitment to the couple of years, at least as I recall from my conversations. I think we had some thought that might be how it played out.
Yeah.
But there were the two projects, the Ferry Road and the Deaver View, that took a large chunk in the initial ask. And then based on the projects that made it through the initial vetting process and understanding, or I guess from my perspective, understanding that it seemed to me the commissioners are looking to spend the money. My approach has been with the projects that came through, if they meet muster and are good projects and can be approved by the committee, that we would use any funds available. And then if there's anything left over, we would recommend that the commissioners use that towards additional projects or projects that have been approved and funded. It doesn't sound like anybody really has a huge desire to leave anything on the table.
Wow. Okay.
And I think we need to lock it up if we can make those recommendations on the projects that we think are valuable and viable.
Yeah, because we do know that, if we don't allocate everything for the 11 projects that are here, but if we save some for next year, we could get new projects, or we could finish up these with a different phase maybe. But the county commissioners could just take that money and spend it wherever they feel like it. Not that they would, but they could. And so we really would like to allocate everything as much as we can.
Okay. And future properties that would be eligible under the bond issue rules, what would happen where would they go for funding?
I think they would have to either wait till the next bond or
Yeah, that's right.
That's my understanding, is it would be another bond.
Okay. Just wanted to hear someone say it. Okay.
You didn't hear me say it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I've heard that some of the commissioners like to see a lot of successful projects right up front, because then they could have what they need to go in for a second bond and say, look at how great the first one was. So I think that's sort of the strategy from what I hear through the grapevine.
Okay. Good comments, Dag.
Just a reminder, these passive recreation subcommittee meetings are open to the public. We can share the Zoom link, or are they able to join in person as well? Or are they all?
Yeah. Well, we're not doing in person currently. But you could join as a public commenter if you wanted to participate.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, Ariel. Yeah.
Yeah, they get the way we've been doing it is when we get to the public comment section, we have the timekeeper on the staff, and they get 3 minutes for their public comment. And we had about 3 or 4 yesterday, Matt? I can't remember.
Yeah.
If we do that, should we make sure that we are associated or not associated with the Land Conservation Advisory Board? If we speak up and attend that public meeting? Are we attending as a member of the public, or are we attending as a member of the Land Conservation Advisory Board?
Good question.
It is a good question. It's been as a member of the public so far, but that's a good question. So
maybe we should keep it that way then?
I think I would say let's keep it that way until we get clarification. If we you can't, That's probably the safest thing at the moment. And then we can like follow up and see if,
Yeah, I agree. And also, the subcommittee has folks, obviously Bob Turner and myself, Bob Gill, Bob Turner and myself, as representatives from the Land Conservation
Right,
Advisory Board. So
right.
we have representation on the committee. So I think if there's anybody on this board that wants to comment, it would be as a individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yep. And if we had LCAB comments, they should be funneled through our 3 representatives.
Yes.
And we have occasionally, there hasn't been a lot, but when we've had discussion on this meeting, we've reported, Matt or one of us has reported at that meeting that, oh, there was discussion at LCAB about X, Y, or Z. So we have kind of done that.
Okay. Okay, good. Good.
I will also chime in. This is Angelica from Communications. I will also chime in that Rachel and her staff have been collecting written public comment from various interest groups, neighborhood groups, and things like that through our engaged.buncombecounty.org platform, where Passive Rec has a page and live streams all their meetings. And they've had, I think, between 50 and 80 pages of written public comment. So that's just another avenue people could take as citizens if they're not able to make the meetings for that
Okay.
public comment time.
Thanks, Angelica.
Angelica, can you add that link to the chat, please?
I will.
Thank you.
And that platform also includes everybody's comments. When we took the surveys and indicated our support, we also had the opportunity to make our own comments, and they are in that website as well. So you can kind of track the conversation pretty well.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else on the bond issue, folks? Okay, announcements and discussion. Ariel, I'm gonna kick this to you. What announcements would you like to make, and I know we've got one issue to discuss. So how about, what have you got?
I do not have much. We kind of covered everything. We will put in the updated member handbook in that shared LCAB folder that you guys all have access to. And because it's and if interested, the plan is for the September meeting, I believe, to be in person. I'm not sure if we want to vote to make that change, since our standard meeting time or meeting location is virtual. But either way, we have enough time to make the change, on the website. Yes. I believe we might have already done that. Okay. And that location is at our office at 49 Mount Carmel Road, out kind of behind the Irwin Hills Ingalls, if you haven't been here before. But the plan is to meet in September at our standard date in person. And so, that's
okay. Yeah, this is going to be the first time that we have met in person. I went back and looked at my calendar since January or February of 2020. So it's been that long since we've seen each other face to face. And I'm really looking forward to it, to be able to have us all in one room. And it's going to be a good meeting. And I think that the idea of working on or being presented with some of the information that Ariel and Avni shared with our new members is good. I think that's really good. We haven't done anything like that in a long time. So the other thing is that I have extended an invitation to Greg Hutchins' wife, Nancy, to attend that meeting. She approached, I may have said something about this last month. She approached me at his funeral and said that she really would like to see one of the activities that Greg was so deeply involved in. And so she would be coming to us as a member of the public next month. And I think that's all I've got to say about next month, except I hope everyone can make it.
Mhm.
And
I'm gonna have to apologize in advance. I'm gonna be out of town.
I
Won't be a work
know.
conflict this time, Nancy, I promise. It'll be vacation, so I can send pictures.
That's a good problem. That's a good problem.
That's okay. Bob Turner will be back and we'll lose you. So, okay. All right.
And Nancy, that in-person meeting is still at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got real lazy over the last 4 years of just kind of like rolling out of bed and turning on the meeting. But yes, except at least it's not downtown. Thank you,
And
Gary.
I mean, you have the ability, because this is kind of a special location, if you wanted to vote to make it later, you have the ability to do that for this one meeting. Or
Well,
just deal with
okay.
it, get up at 8, we'll be here, we have to do it too, so.
Okay. Does anybody on the committee have a problem with the 8 o'clock?
We'll make coffee.
I'll bring donuts. So,
There you go.
Wow.
okay, we're ready.
That'll get me there.
So this, Nancy, I'm like Matt, I'm not going to be in town on that date, so I really
Oh,
hate it
David,
because I would have
okay.
liked to meet everyone in person. So I apologize for that, but I'll be at the meeting after that. So,
Okay,
so coffee or donuts still won't be able to get me there because I'll be
We'll
many,
save
many
you a
miles away.
okay,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. Anybody else is unable to make it? Okay, all right. We'll hope to see you all next month, and that's going to be great. Okay, Stag, do you want to talk a little bit about what your suggestion was?
You're muted.
Sure. First, I found the onboarding meeting really great. So thank you,
Good.
Ariel and Albany, for that meeting. And look forward to meeting the rest of folks in person. My proposal, I talked with Nancy a bit about this, is to create more awareness of the conservation programs. Like our end of the county, the southwesternmost corner has had very little conservation activity. I think the last project was 2007 or so, the Brocas property. And there's very little awareness out here, unlike, say, Sandy Mush. So I just wanted to have a public meeting that we could have either at one of the places I know or possibly a fire department to create more awareness. And I believe that Ariel and others may have done something like that in other parts of the county in the past. I'm not sure, but I think it'd be great to have that in all 4 corners, or at least the 3 corners other than the Sandy Mush where there's not much awareness.
Okay. Ariel, didn't you do a meeting like that up here in Rims Creek?
Yes, we did. We had some landowners request us to do a meeting in Reams Creek, and so we coordinated that with Jess Lagis and did a joint presentation with her out there. I want to say in the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have talked about doing. We already had it kind of tentatively in our minds to do it out in Barnardsville, the Big Ivy Community Center, because we've had requests for that as well. So we can get together with our director and with Southern App and Conserving Carolina, and kind of make a plan, make some tentative locations and dates. I don't know if we can do 4 in a year. We'll just kind of have to figure out like how the capacity, but we can start to do that as like a refresher for around the county.
Yeah, and let's make that southwestern corner where Stag is a high priority. And look at that first if we can. I'm looking at the other corners. You had the one up here in Rims Creek, and yes, Barnardsville wants one. But let's look at that southwestern corner first, okay?
Yeah, I think that would be good. One of my real concerns out here, once I started really understanding the properties, of course, we now have Pisgah View State Park as an anchor. But I really hope we can preserve the view shed from the park. And there are some critical property owners, including 370 acres owned by Chainsaw Charlie Taylor, to use the name from the book Stand Up That Mountain. And his property goes up over 5,000 feet on Mount Pisgah. So that got developed into 10-acre plots, which according to, as I understand the state law, state law says that you can divide anything into 10 or greater plots, and it doesn't matter what local zoning says, the state law, so they could put huge McMansions all the way along the ridge line, and that would trump the Buncombe County slope laws and ridge laws.
I would clarify on that. It would not prevent anybody from having to meet steep slope requirements on a project. It just prevents them from having to meet subdivision requirements that have minimum standards for roads and things like that. So I'm not saying that we don't need to be aware and make sure that we are on finger on the pulse, but if that was a 10-acre lot, they would still need to meet steep slope and ridge protection ordinance requirements of Buncombe County.
Okay. I'm not a lawyer. Somebody else explained to me that, they couldn't put more than one dwelling on the 10 acres, but that the state law, the way it written, actually trumped the ridge line laws, but I'm not a lawyer. So
it doesn't. I'm a landscape architect, been practicing for 25 years in this county, so I feel pretty comfortable with that statement.
You give me some comfort, although I still still wouldn't want to see McMansions.
I agree.
Unfortunately, the landscape architects and builders have figured out how to put some things on damn steep slopes.
Well, hopefully it's steering them in a better direction than they would do otherwise. I can't say that I'm always love the fact that that's the case, but we're dealing with the program we're dealt, I guess.
Yeah.
Stag, the thing that could happen, heaven forbid it does, but right now there's a super majority in the General Assembly. If somebody, that had some influence, got somebody to introduce a bill, they could undo. They could supersede what the county does, but it would have to be legislative. But let's hope that things are going to be a little different in November, and we don't ever have to worry about that.
Yeah. Well, and we know that has happened before.
Yeah.
And so, even though it sounds far-fetched, believe me, it's not far-fetched. So yes, hopefully there'll be a change in November, and that's one of the things, like what Matt just pointed out, that Stag heard one thing and Matt had more information on it. Those are the kind of comments and conversations we need to have with property owners. Yeah. Because the property owners, we can't, unless we're going to buy the property from Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor is a private citizen, and he has to come to our table, not the other way around.
So speaking of that, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. You finish your thought.
I was just going to say, I think it's a great idea to focus in that area to start with. And I think with Pisgah View, I think it can create some momentum on our part in terms of getting people on board. We may be competing with other folks that think that development in that area, because Pisgah View is coming, is a good idea, but I think it would be incumbent upon us to try to get out there, and I'd be happy to join in one of those meet and greet type situations if we can get something set up.
Perfect. Yeah. So my question was, location, what's the good location in that community that we can have it at? And it would, be, obviously we can have the conservation organization representatives leading the conversation and doing the presentation, but it'd be very helpful to have some board member representation as well.
Ariel?
And communication through the board members as well into their own, networks. Yes,
Ariel, I would obviously want to be at the meeting, and I would generate a lot of interest out here. I've been doing that for all the open meetings for the state park. We've got extensive mailing list and had lots of people at the open meetings for Pisgah View State Park. In terms of location, I think there are two possibilities. One would be the fire department, which was used for those open meetings, but it's not really a sit down type place. It's better for, open meetings with panels and all. The other thing I'd be willing to fund this is right across the street, there's a church that's now owned by Budgie's Bakery, and the owners of Budgie's Bakery have been very supportive of activities like this. They've hosted meetings for the candidates for county commissioners and stuff like that. And so, I could make arrangements to rent that for the evening and have some stuff there and all. So, I think
Okay.
if you just call, we can work the maybe most efficient. Why don't we talk offline about organizing
Yeah.
meetings?
Yeah, that sounds great. And then others that have ideas of where to have it in the other locations. A lot of times we have it at community centers. Churches sometimes are good locations. Sometimes it's not great for some people. But so yeah, if you'll share, just send us emails about if you have suggestions. And we have a meeting next week with Southern App, so we can kind of get some stuff on their radar.
Okay, and especially down in that southwest corner. Conserve Carolina, you're touching up against, their main area too. So let's make sure Tom and Karen are involved. And Hannah from Riverlink is not on the call, is she?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, yeah, let's I think that this is a good project. And if we can get something moving by the time we have our next meeting in September, I think that would be really positive to be able to report on that and where we could have these meetings. So good. Stag, thank you very much for that suggestion and presenting it to the board.
And Stag, it sounds like there are a lot of options for meetings. Was that firehouse you're talking about? I need to get I don't have a map in front of me. Was that the Hominy Creek firehouse area?
Upper Hominy Valley Fire Department.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because many years ago, I was involved there was a Forest Service issue of a potential 4-parcel land swap, and they were going to lose Stand Hill Mountain. We managed to, a lot of public gathered, but anyway, wherever they got them, they had lots of chairs in the firehouse, and there was a good crowd there. And so it did work real well, but it sounds like you maybe got some better options. So anyway, I just want to let you know.
Yeah, I can work that. I'm working closely with Shane, who's the fire chief and also the vice president of the Friends of Pisgah View State Park. And the other meeting place is actually literally right across the street from it. So I'll work that with Ariel.
Sounds good.
I will make a short invitation. If anybody wants to hike some of the trails of Pisgah View State Park, so you get an idea of the land out here and can see it, just contact me because I'm leading a lot of the volunteer work. I have the permission from the superintendent, as long as I remind everybody that the park's not officially open, to, hike with my friends on those trails. And as long as we don't have enough to make a quorum, we can do it in small groups.
Yeah, I'd love to see that area on trails.
So I'd like to just add something to this conversation. If we're going to go out to some communities and talk about conservation, it sounds like we've just identified one area for sure, and that there could be up to additional 3 areas in a year. And I'm wondering if perhaps, I don't know who should make the recommendation, if it's our board or not, but Buncombe County did a comprehensive land use plan, and they had a big conservation component to that, where they identified key ecological corridors and protected lands already. I'm wondering if we looked at a map together and made some recommendations from this board to where some of those things could happen, and maybe even consider some of those places that don't get as much love. Because I think even when we're doing some work in the county. There's some areas that there's farmland, but they just don't get the attention that some other places get. So it's just something that I would just like to put a plug in, that we look at it comprehensively.
Okay, David, that's yeah, good suggestion.
Good idea.
Okay. Okay, Ariel, we had an additional application to join our board, and he put, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, his
Bruce,
name is
you did.
Bruce. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so his name is Bruce Schlesinger. I know that there was some confusion that I think folks thought he was he was living in Illinois. He lives in Fairview.
Right,
And so I think that Illinois was a mistake here, but it says Fletcher. He lives in Fairview. It's the Fletcher address. He is from Illinois originally, and he works remotely from Illinois. So that's where the accidental Illinois was put in. I will say, Bruce is, and this is, I don't believe this is a conflict of interest. Bruce is in the process of doing a conservation easement with the Ag Advisory Board. And so he is learning the process fairly quickly and very interested in, focus, like just similar to Stag being interested in the Candler area, his stomping grounds. Bruce is interested in protecting lands, with his interest really basing in the Fairview area. So that's a good, regional representation there. So I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a background there. I do believe in past experience, he's, I believe when he lived in Illinois, had different experiences serving on public boards. So he understands, kind of some of those general rules. And I think that's kind of the overview I can give. Stag, you had a comment?
No,
Okay.
Ariel
All
has addressed gave me the answer I expected when I looked at the Fletcher, Illinois.
Okay,
address.
yeah.
And we still have slots available and nobody on a quote unquote wait list.
Correct. This is the only applicant that has submitted for the one vacancy left.
Okay. And Ariel, he is working a conservation easement right now as a property owner, correct?
So he is the point person for the Okobochi Farm conservation easement. And so this is a property that is owned technically by the HOA of this community. So it's about 45 acres of bottomland in Fairview, and he's been actively pushing for the HOA to protect it permanently for it to stay a working farm. But he's kind of he's a partial owner, but he's not the full owner.
Yeah,
but he's
the point person.
But he's the point person, and we've been working with him for the past couple of years on it.
Yeah.
And the location is, so I get my head straight, it's kind of on King Creek, Brush Creek area. So it's
it's
King Creek
I
Valley.
believe it's Lower Brush Creek.
On.
Yeah. You know where Tony Nesbitt's dairy is. It's it's kind of off Lower Brush Creek. That connects back to King Creek. Yeah.
Okay.
He sounds like a good prospect. That sounds very positive.
Yeah. And he's probably a Bears fan, so it's okay. Okay, no, I think this is good because he's coming from a totally different perspective. And I think having that kind of perspective on this board would be good. Yeah, so Ariel, should we vote on having this go ahead?
If you're ready to send it to the commissioners, we need to vote to have you recommend it.
Are there okay.
Make a motion to recommend Bruce Schlesinger as the next board member for the Land Conservation Advisory Board.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussions? Does anyone else have any comments on this? Okay, then let's take a vote. All in favor of pushing this application forward? Please say aye or raise your hand or whatever.
Aye.
Okay. And does anyone have any negative comments on it? Okay, so Ariel, let's go ahead and propose Bruce's application to the county commissioners. And I think that's good. I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Great. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get it on the next commissioner's agenda. So he should be able to serve next meeting and meet in person.
Okay. Nancy, I know you're on the call. I saw your name. I just wondered if you would like to say a few words before we leave this meeting. And David, David heard from, but Nancy.
Yes, well, thank you. I am sitting in a parking lot and my signal keeps going in and out. So I've not been participating and I'm not turning my video on because I don't have enough signal here. But I'm happy to be on this board, and I am wondering about how many board members we've just onboarded and if we have plans in the future for spreading out the transition from one board to the next, because this is a big group of new people all at once.
Yes, absolutely. So we've just recently done this kind of big turnover because previous to a couple years ago, there were no term limits. So now we should have kind of a third of the board rotating, maybe every year or so. Essentially, it's 3 years you can serve as one term. You can serve 2 terms. So the hope is that, after we've done this cleanup, we won't be doing huge rotations anymore. It'll be, one or two going off, and being replaced, but we won't have this, large loss of knowledge over the next couple of years. But this is our transition for sure. That's why we're trying to get everybody up to speed because, within a year, we'll have another handful roll off. So yeah,
That's great.
Not ideal, but.
Nancy, I'm the old growth on this committee. I've been with it ever since it was formed in 2004, and they finally put term limits on. So I agreed for another 3-year term. I'm in my second. So next year, I'm going to have to go off the board finally after all these years.
I think
But the other
Nancy and
thing is
Bob
we
have
only
me
have to
beat,
leave
but I've
for
been there
1
since
year.
08.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the three of us, Matt
Yeah.
and Bob and I, old timers. So, okay, Nancy, thanks for checking in. I really just wanted to hear your voice.
Yeah, my
Okay,
pleasure.
Does anybody else have any other comments? Okay, well, we will see some of you next month. And we won't see a couple of you. Now, Ariel, are we planning on going back to Zoom, or should we put this down as hybrid so we can meet in person?
Right now, you are, because of the bylaws that we adopted last year, you have the ability to do both. You would have to vote to decide to like make your standard meeting in person so that we could change it on the website and the press release and all of that. As of right now, the standard format of the meeting is virtual, but our bylaws allow both. So it just would require a vote to make it in person if that is what the majority decides. So
how do
maybe
you all feel about that? Yeah,
it could be a good thing to decide after we have our in-person meeting next month.
Okay.
We could discuss after our next meeting, maybe doing it once a year in person or something like that.
Oh, I want more.
You want more?
I mean, for those of us who spent years hiking downtown every month, I think that face-to-face they're very helpful, and this is easy. This is easy, but yeah, okay, Bob, we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah, we can talk about it. No big deal.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Okay. Does anybody else have any more comments? Okay. Well, no presentations today, except hearing just how things are moving along, and conservation and easement is, it is safe here in Buncombe County right now. So Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
Okay. All right. A second, please? Thanks, Matt. Okay, all in favor of adjourning for this morning, please indicate an aye, please, or an aye.
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 All right, good.
Thanks,
and
everyone,
so-
and welcome new board members.
Pardon me. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Welcome, David and Nancy.
Yeah.
And soon to be Bruce. And yeah, that's great. And I really do look forward to meeting you someday, David. And Nancy, I'll see you next month, I hope. So great. Have a wonderful month, and gosh, enjoy this weather. It's my first turtleneck of the season. So this weather is just awesome. We'll see you all next month. Okay. Nancy, I see you. Yeah. Okay, good. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.